On today's episode, I'm going to be chatting with Matthew Hurthy. He's the owner of Jax Power Pro. We're going to talk about how he came to Jax looking for a union job, but as doors open, he stepped through them, and today he owns his own company. We want to take a deep dive into how he built friendships that today feel like family. But first, if this is your first time, subscribe, turn on the notifications. You don't want to miss an episode of This is Jax. Welcome to This is Jax, a hyper-local podcast. We're going to do our best. We're going to bring on successful business owners, the people who drive the cities, share a lot about what makes our city so great. So you can be confident and comfortable. This is a city that you want to call home. Matt, welcome to This is Jax, man. I'm glad you're in here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Finally got you behind the microphone in the studio.
Yes, sir.
And so we're going to dive right in. Listen, Matt, you grew up in Milwaukee. You lived there for 28 years before coming down to Jacksonville. So that's essentially like you were a grown-up. You grew up there. You're a grown man the time you come down. Can you share some of the significant differences between the two cities and how the transition, how it impacted your personal and your professional life?
Yes. So essentially when I first moved to Jacksonville, I was a union electrician. So I changed my local to the local here, which is 177. Upon changing to the local union here, coming here from work, there just wasn't, I don't know if there wasn't a lot of work at the time or my name just wasn't high enough on the list to be called. Okay. So essentially, I waited for about 8 months before I received a call.
Wow.
In between that interim, I decided to work some non-union companies. And that's how I gradually moved on to All Service Electric, which I worked for several years. Joe Sullivan, the owner, he is an amazing individual. I learned so much from him, along with Jason Bruton. He is, I'm not sure if he's the operations manager or what his position is at the company anymore, but learned a lot from both of them, and also dispatcher Timmy. So it helped me grow in my networking and meet some other individuals. I guess later on throughout my career, I was introduced to some more individuals that my wife worked with, Cameron and Sean. They owned Reliant Roofing and offered me a position there. And that's how I gradually grew into management and ventured off into my own company, which I own today. And that is a very fast process of showing how it went, but essentially that's how it started. Now, I guess moving from Milwaukee to Jacksonville, obviously the temperature changed. Big change, yes.
I mean, it's hot outside right now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's very hot. It's very hot. So the sand was burning my feet over the weekend.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But, I guess the biggest change for me was, weather, and I had such a strong mindset on, goals I wanted to accomplish, and I wasn't achieving those goals where I was set in Milwaukee. So made some changes, knowing that, like I said, there was a lot of work here, growth potential, and I guess the biggest for me was, the biggest thing for me was the opportunities. Okay. The opportunities that were presented to me very quickly. So I'm a driven person. When I like to do something, I like to do it to the best of my ability.
Sure.
I may not always be the best, but I like to do it to the best of my ability.
Your best.
Yes. Yeah. So that opened doors a lot faster, I would say, in Jacksonville than it did in Milwaukee for me.
Okay.
Milwaukee, I love Milwaukee. I use Milwaukee tools. I promote them. We have them on our website. And there's many other things that I love about Milwaukee. I still follow the sports teams, the Packers, the Brewers, the Bucks. Those are my teams.
That's your hometown.
Yep. They'll always be my teams. The Jags have grown on me, so my wife is also a Jags fan. So,
okay. Very cool. So what I'm hearing is you were in Milwaukee, and then you made the move to Jacksonville, and originally you were kind of looking for some union work, but then one thing led to another, and opportunities presented themselves, doors opened, and you stepped into owning the business, which is Jax Power Pro.
Correct.
Today, correct? So early on, like in your early 20s, back when you were in Milwaukee even, was it a goal to one day own your own, or was that not something you necessarily thought about until you got here and those doors opened?
Not until I got here.
Okay.
So I come from, in my family, my father owns a business in car maintenance, so mechanic shops, repair shops. I loved working on my car when I was younger. I just didn't essentially like working on other people's vehicles. So that didn't interest me in taking over the business at that point. As I grew, obviously, my goals changed. My outlook on life changes a bit.
Right.
So for me, I guess that it's just the opportunities that were presented to me as quickly as they were here. When I was with a union, it was fairly large companies, thousands of individuals. So it's harder to grow at a rapid pace. You're more or less like, this is the amount you're going to get paid. Once you receive this, you'll move to the next step, and then you become a lead, and then you can be management, and then you could possibly grow into this position. So, I mean, that's what I was looking for in the beginning, is I wanted to be management.
Yeah.
I wanted to be project manager, superintendent, and that came from my grandfather. He was a superintendent.
Okay.
So a lot of my inspiration came from him. I guess I was on job sites very young. I have photos of it. Being in his trailer, looking at the blueprints.
That's good. That's definitely relatable, as I grew up in a household where there were people on a platform, on a stage, and now today I'm comfortable doing this. Right? It kind of just, as younger, I never thought I was going to be here hosting a podcast, but just my influences in life kind of led me in that direction too. So. I like that. And then remind me again, what year did you actually get to Jacksonville?
August of 2016.
August of 2016. And then shortly after that, in the fall, is when you met your now wife, right? In October 2016.
That is correct.
Okay, cool. So married 2 years later. So it sounds like a pretty good romance. How is marriage, raising your daughters, how has that shaped you personally and as a business leader? Like how's that add to your life?
It's added a lot to my life. But it's something that I'm constantly working on. There's so many changes. Like sometimes our weeks change, every month. Like our schedule will change with the kids, and as they grow, and they're growing so fast. With my wife and her work schedule, she works for Jacksonville University.
Okay.
So she's the executive coordinator to the dean of the nursing school.
Nice.
So she coordinates a lot of events with the pinning ceremonies and such with the nursing department. And I guess with the kids in their school, they go to separate schools at the moment, excuse me. But hopefully when they're at the same school, things will change again.
A little more balance.
Yep.
Right?
But starting the company and trying to do the work-life balance has been challenging for me. Trying to find the right flow, trying to know when to shut off work and to shut on, just family time. I'm trying to put as much effort as I do into the business as I do with my family, because that's very important to me. Family is super important.
Right.
Being there for my daughters. I have 3 daughters, so being there for all my daughters is very important to me.
That's good.
So I trying to always find that good work-life balance. Sometimes it's, I'm human, I'm imperfect, but I try to do my best at creating the best balance I can.
Yeah, as a dad or as a business owner who has a family, I was just speaking to someone today about kind of balancing spending time with your family and providing for your family. You have both of those roles, right? And they're both equally important. Mm-hmm. And then there's a third one that I think people often forget, is balancing rest in there, either on your own rest so that you're able to provide those two, or rest as a family. What are some ways in Jacksonville that you guys as a family, or just you like to do that you're like, hey, I need some rest. I need a break from the business. I need some entertainment. What is it? Are you a beach family? Are you hanging out at the pool or hitting any of the parks?
We do. So we've been to Disney a few times.
Okay.
Right now, at the age that my kids are, my two youngest ones, I should say, it can get tough. They still need naps. So that period, kind of goes to the wayside when we go to the park. So it can be tough to get through, but we love to go on the boat. So we have a boat. I love to fish as much as I can. It's not often right now, but we love to go out on the boat, and we go to Shark's Tooth Island, which is just a smaller island. And when the tide is low, you're able to search and find shells and shark's teeth, and the kids love that. So
yeah, definitely, kids love it. That's good. That's one of our favorite things, taking the boys down to the beach. And at first, I could tell you it's interesting as somebody who really loves being in the water to see your kid that's a little apprehensive about it and being patient with them and educating them and getting them more time in it. And the more they go, it's like, man, they just can't get enough of it. They love it. So going back to the business, go back to Jax Power Pro. Starting that business, we kind of talked about, what motivated you to start that business and how you got there. But what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the early stages of starting the business?
Okay. I do like that question. It's kind of tough, but early on when I first started the business, I was unaware of everything that needed to take place in order to start and operate the business.
Okay.
So I took a lot of, information I gathered from multiple individuals. Excuse me, I can't speak. Multiple individuals to try to create this business from nothing. So I ended up acquiring the business from a friend of mine at the time that I worked with.
Okay.
He was doing nothing with the business. It had a current EIN. There was no monies and debts owed on it. So I essentially just took over the name and the EIN without having to wait for the process.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Once I did that, I ended up changing the name to Jax Power Pro. And then I did a lot of internal changes with everything. So when I received the company, I received nothing with it aside from the name and the EIN.
Okay.
So it was pretty much starting from scratch. If I were to do it over again, I would probably I wouldn't go through that entire process of the acquisition. I would do more of just create your own LLC, S Corp, whatever it may be, and move forward with it at that time. Okay. But I guess jumping into it, the insurances, the licenses, the uniforms, the addressing, operating system, everything of that nature, email, Google, saving, our drive, or everything that we currently use at the moment to operate the business.
Right.
And then social media and website.
Yeah, and you guys are really clean cut, really professional. I know our paths have crossed a couple times, got to connect on a few different things and had a few different conversations since I met you, probably like a year ago or something. But I've always been impressed with the professionalism and the style, and that, to me, that's important in a day and age where like all eyes are on you with social media and everything else. It's not only important to do quality work, but you have to look good while you're doing it, right? And professional, like you mentioned, uniforms and stuff, where maybe 5-10 years ago that was like, I don't know. I've been around the contractor world my whole life in one way or another, and as I've grown up, I've seen that change, especially in recent years. And most of the companies that me personally, like if I'm looking for a certain contractor for a certain part of the industry, I'm finding them on Instagram, seeing like, okay, verifying, is this person in business? Are they doing quality work? Do they look like they have a professional team? And that's my first filter before, even making the call to be like, hey, what's the next step on like getting a schedule or having that conversation? So I think that goes a long way. How big is your crew right now?
So right now we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We have 4 trucks on the road.
Okay.
So, 4 trucks on the road, and then mine is included, so that would be 5, including mine.
Okay.
So, August will be 2 years for us. Okay. So
and
August.
You started with just you.
Yes, I started with me, and then there was one other individual, is no longer with us, and then I hired on from there, and we gradually moved. We had our numbers have increased and then decreased, increased, decreased, and a lot of that is it comes back to like when I first started the business. There's a lot of things that I didn't implement right away that I wish I would have, but I didn't know. So hindsight 2020, looking at it now, I would have implemented those things immediately because it helps with the hiring and firing process.
Yes.
So
do you think that anybody who owns a business or starts something up, though, no matter how many books they read or how many YouTube videos they watch, I feel like there's a little bit of like, you have to learn it yourself. You're going to make mistakes and have errors and things. You're like, man, I wish I would have done it different.
Yeah, you have to dive in, and it takes time. And we're still learning and growing on a daily basis. There's many things that we like to do and create and, add to the company, and it all come in time. I'm a perfectionist.
Okay.
So anybody you talk to, they'll tell me I'm OCD. That's okay. You know, I'm just very particular, the way that I like to do things, the way I'd like to present things. The company, like I said, the uniforms that you had mentioned, vehicles, I like them washed, cleaned, organized.
The way the wires look in a power box, right? Yeah,
exactly.
It's so important. So, really appreciate that.
Yep.
Let's see here. What do we got here? Okay. We may have kind of covered this a little bit, but let's look at this. Building this company from scratch, right? So, and that alone, it's no small feat. It's something that a lot of people wish to start from something from scratch and never do, but you did. What strategies or principles have you implemented at Jax Power Pro that ensure exceptional customer service and high quality craftsmanship?
Yep. So I would say it goes back to our values. Our number one value is communication.
Perfect.
So without having that in place, and that's part of we'll say processes that I didn't implement in the beginning that are now within our company. Everybody knows what our goals are. Everybody knows what our values are and what we're working towards and what we will not have. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward, clean cut, dry, number one value is communication. So
that's great.
If we have lack of communication with our customers, if we have lack of communication with our coworkers or with our management, things fall apart. It is not perfected, So in order to be efficient, our communication has to be top notch. So I would say that's where it starts.
That's great.
Communication.
And in our industry, in the housing industry, I know you're an electric, but I'm kind of wrapping it into the housing industry, because that's kind of where you guys are. But communication is probably the biggest complaint that the consumer has, too.
Absolutely.
And so to just hit it right on, you're like, I'm going to set myself apart from everybody on day one. And then it holds you to that standard. Communication is something big that I like to think I'm good at as well in my business. And I know that it keeps you – I can't communicate with you about the work that's getting done unless I did the work, right? It almost is like a check and balance of and there's many other examples why communication is so key. So that's really huge, and that's the foundation. I appreciate that too. Let's look at this one. Let's see. Okay, so going back on your journey, let's go back to Milwaukee and being successful business owner here in Jacksonville. So your journey from coming from Milwaukee to becoming a successful business owner in Jacksonville. What advice would you give others who are looking to make a big life change? Maybe start their own business as part of a move or something like that.
I wouldn't suggest to try to do everything I did at once.
Okay.
We've had 2 kids in the last 2 years, started a business. Yeah. Wife made a job change years back, just before my second daughter was born. And so I wouldn't suggest that. It's a lot to take on. Okay. But I definitely would do the research on the type of business that is, you're looking to perform, and make sure that there are individuals that are looking for that either service or product in the area, which Jacksonville is so large that you can go from a beach atmosphere to west or north on the city, and you have more a country vibe, or you can go, inner city of Jacksonville, where you
Yeah.
have downtown vibe. So it's not quite segregated, but it's almost like you live in a different city when you travel because it's so large. So I guess my suggestion is just moving here, put both feet in, communicate with as many people as you can, and
Yeah.
network, because there are a lot of nice individuals here that want to help. So
That's perfect.
I would say that would be.
That is a thing we keep hearing on this show. Every business owner I talk to, it's what you just said, where there's a lot of people here that want to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to a lot of people that say that's what sets the city apart, is the fact that other businesses want to help other businesses here.
Strive and grow, yeah.
So, and that's one of the things that I love about the city as well. What do you think, what's in the future, what's the vision, what's the goal, what's the future of Jax Power Pro here in the city of Jacksonville?
So we'd like to grow in numbers a little bit more to have, I guess, a larger employment with Jax Power Pro. So add some more project managers, add some more lead electricians, along with some more apprentices. We have one right now currently, looking to have some more apprentices that really like this industry. The sad part of this industry is there's a lot of individuals that are getting to the retirement age, and once they get to retirement age, there's not a lot of new workforce, we'll say, coming into this trade. As times change with technology and job status, and I would say a lot since COVID too, has changed the workforce.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yep. So concerned about how many electricians there will be in 10 years.
Right.
It's hard to say. The numbers keep decreasing.
So putting some training programs in place help ensure the longevity of the business.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. And the quality of the product, right, too, because if you're undermanned, understaffed, we know that the next thing that happens is the quality of the work comes down too, right? Or the costs become so astronomical to the consumer, to the customer. So yeah, that's super important. Okay, looking back, let's fast forward to the future now. So let's say
Fast forward to the future.
Yeah.
Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies. So
it's a great movie. Yeah. I think I still have like the DVD copy. It might be like full screen or what, like the square screen version or something.
Yeah. One day I'll buy the shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
The laceless. So,
do they still make them? Are they out there?
Yeah, they have them. The mags, Nike mags.
Dang. I have to look them up.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're going back to the future now. And you're sitting there talking to your grandkids about your life story. What is the chapter of this time, this period of Jacksonville, this period of your life? What's the title of that chapter?
Growth.
Man, I hear that one a lot too. I think
Growth.
that's pretty close to what I got. It seems like it for everybody, right? It's like this. The city is. It literally is such a great place for growth.
Oh yes.
I can't get over it, and it wasn't something that I knew instantly, or it wasn't on my radar to be here. I just ended up here, and then I grew here, and I continue to have growth in my life today. As a result of it.
I would say also the friendships, and it hasn't been just friendships. I've had friendships that turned into more like a family.
Okay.
And that's one thing, because I have limited family. So since I moved here, my brother did decide to move here.
Okay.
And he's been here for about 4 years. And he lives right next door to me. So he bought the house right next door to me.
That's
so
awesome, man.
And me. Yep.
I
Kids love
my
it.
brother into that.
Yeah. But essentially that's all I have for my personal family here. My wife has some family here. But I would say I've created friendships that are more like family now. Because of the lack of my own, personal family here. So those relationships mean the world to me. I mean, I love to continue those and, grow those with not only mentorship that I'm receiving, but also my life is full with activities every day. I mean, we're doing pickleball, we're doing this, we're going on the boat, there's so many events and at the beach going on and concerts and things of that nature that I just absolutely, that's one thing that I love. And the area that I live in, I absolutely love it. I live off San Pablo, and I love that area.
That's perfect.
Never moved from over there, I don't think. So.
Man, I love hearing that, Matt. That is, and that just is really like, man, the period on the sentence right there, getting to that point of this show. I mean, and that's the story that we're trying to share. That's what This Is Jax is all about, is kind of acknowledging that side of the city, that family side of the city. And we definitely feel that. My wife and I are at a pool party in our community, you know what I mean? Just a mix of neighbors hanging out at the pool, and everyone's having a good time. And it's like, we've lived other places where like that didn't exist. Or if we tried to get it going, it didn't take off. And now here it just happens naturally, and it's normal to everybody, right? So I love hearing that. What do you have, talking a little bit about the culture of Jacksonville, do you have like a unique story, like just one-off story that perfectly illustrates that spirit of the city? Or an event that happens?
I guess, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like an event that...
So for me, I think a big, that family side of the city, the big one for me, I've talked about it a little bit, was like when I did the Gate River Run for the first time. Just like so many people from the city are down there, and you're in close quarters, and as you're running through the neighborhoods, all the people that come out to cheer and the bands and all the different stuff, and you're just like, I'm running that event, and I'm like, oh, I love this city, I will never leave. Mm-hmm. So I mean, are there any events that you go to that could happen reoccurring every year, or some type of unique thing to our city that makes it's just a cherry on top?
I do love the Thanksgiving Day of Pete's.
Okay.
That, along with the 4th of July. There's other events that I've been to, but I would say get connected with your neighborhood. It's huge. Okay. That's one thing that I would say in the last year has been pretty strong. Our neighborhood is it's great. All the guys hang out. We say all the homies kick it, you know, in the neighborhood. They know each other. Yeah. We go fishing. We just stop over at each other's house, walking the kids around the block, you know, throw something on the grill, watch football. The one thing about Jacksonville or Florida, I don't know if this is entire Florida, but Jacksonville for sure, nobody uses their garages as a garage. Everybody uses their garage as either A, storage, or B, an extra room.
Or a party room.
Yep, a party room. And that's
the Florida basement.
Yep, that's how most of the neighborhoods are, and especially our neighborhood. Everybody's garage door is open. They're kind of hanging out, so it's very friendly. And it's just a open arms kind of deal. So that's that perfect. I would say is in the last year and a half has been super strong in our neighborhood too.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Matt, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing a little bit of your story. For the listener out there, if they want to get in touch with you, either to maybe they're thinking about starting their own business and they want to get in touch with you, or if they're looking to get some electrical work done, which I know you guys are the best at, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way? You can reach us either via our website at JaxPowerPro.com. Contact us by phone number 904-826-9298, or you can contact our email, which is office@JaxPowerPro.com. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I can be contacted at Matthew@JaxPowerPro.com. And if you do mention Nate Riggs on there, we will offer a 15% discount on your next service. Dude, love it. Appreciate it, man. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Thank you.